Greetings, I'm Vosk here on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. I've been mining crypto for a long time, but my Bitcoin mining farm is basically failing. Rising electricity rate.
Home electricity prices may rise again next year.
The difference is 1.5 cents more per kilowatt hour.
So I need a plan S, solar. I've been doing solar research. It's always been the end game. And I want to share the details on this and what I did wrong, how you can avoid things like that. And just kind of where I'm going next with the solar build, because it's rapidly developing. Hey.
Oh, hi.
What are you doing July 21st, 23rd? I thought you'd say that. Heading down to Mining Disrupt. They're back in Miami, Florida, baby. It's the biggest Bitcoin crypto mining conference in the world. Use our link to not only buy a ticket, but to get a discount. Alright, so this is the Growatt grid tie inverter. There's a lot of options. We're going to be using multiple products out here, but I had to give this one a spin because I'm clearly addicted to low quality Chinese parts. I mean, how can you not be if you're a Bitcoin miner? That's where it all comes from, whether you like it or not. So Growatt 11.4 kW grid tie inverter. So dollar for dollar, even in retail from Signature Solar, which this is where I did order some of these and I got a bit of a deal on these. And if you want some parts, I'll put a link in the video description below for solar parts, solar design help, and of course where to order some mining rigs. But the bottom line is, these are the cheapest inverters by very far. I've got a grid tie setup, and so I look at the spec sheets and I was looking at the wattage, definitely fine. Then I figured out the max DC voltage. Let's talk about that real quick. And this video is going to be a bit technical. So I've got a myriad of panels at this point at my farm or on the way. So what we're looking at is the VOC here, the open circuit voltage. And so let's take the 590s I have. Their VOC is 53. So what happens is each panel you add, you take that open circuit VOC and you leave a bit of a buffer and you add it up. All right, so if I take, let's just say 600 divided by 53, all right, I can get 11 on there. So I could technically get 11 per string, but we're gonna hit some other limitations within this device. So the way the strings work and the MPP trackers, right, that's the T in MPPT. And then you can also have additional strings per tracker. So like say you could have 2 strings per MPPT. Some people may look at that as like a terminal. So say like 2 terminals per MPPT, and you know it's kind of a lot. I get it if you're new to this. And remember, I'm not acting like an expert, consultant, expert, all that stuff. Bunch of different ways to break this down and look at it, but one of the simple, safe ways we had looked at using the 590s as an example on these. We took 6, right, times 53, way under the VOC. Basically, you need enough voltage for basically this stuff to work. Amps do not stack in a string. And let me explain what that means, right? Because there's the way I look at it is basically 3 things we got to deal with. We've got the imp, the VOC, and the watts. And again, we're dealing with the 590 in this example. The current imp or amperage there is 13.36. We look at the spec sheet and we see that the max input is 13.5. So these panels fit. If you go over that, my understanding is you can go over that amperage, but you're basically going to lose the additional capacity on the panel. And just going over on things like that doesn't really make sense. It's not a good design, generally speaking, right? Maybe a little bit of clipping's all right, you know, running at max capacity. But you don't want to just be throwing a bunch of generated solar power away. And we've got the VOC, right? VOC does not operate linearly. That stacks with each panel. So 1 panel, 53. 2 panels, 106, and so forth. That's how we got to that 318 number. And of course we have the simple number that you always think of with solar panels, the actual solar panel wattage, right? So we go 590, and if we did 4 strings of 6, right? One string on each MPPT. That would give us a total wattage here of 14 kilowatt, and that's before factoring any sort of bifacial gain. I don't know how much bifacial gain we'll really get in this scenario if we're going to be limited by the amperage on these inverters, at least as far as a max capacity goes. But when we're not at max capacity, definitely there's plenty of room for benefit to be had there, right? Your panels are not always churning at 100%, you know, whatever the technical percentage is. And really, based on these numbers, I could actually even use potentially some of the lower wattage and thus cheaper models here. But one, I already bought some of these, so I'm definitely using those. And then I'd rather be oversized, generally speaking. Hopefully it runs cooler and easier and lasts longer. But if you oversize too much, it becomes inefficient, and it actually hurts you. So this is where the dilemma comes in, right? Picking up some 720 watt panels, look at how different these stats are. It changes so much, right? The VOC pretty low, 49. But the way this all comes together, that comes at a cost, a price. The amperage is up, and it's up big, 17.6. Not only is that over 13.5, it's way over 13.5. I'm up 4 amps over the max. That's too much. If I understand this right, and this basically won't blow it up or ruin it or degrade it quickly, I'll be running 720 watt panels as like 580 watt panels. That's not good. I paid extra to get 720 wattage. I was thinking bigger panels, right? Less panels, less racking, savings. So now I need to explore other inverter options that can handle this. One of the options I found are the Fronius Primos. I called their tech support and he called it a Primo. Originally, I went straight to the big boy, the 15, at a similar power input there. I like their data sheet a little bit better. We get MPP voltage range, and apparently the build quality on these is they can actually operate beyond this max, but you technically shouldn't, and you should technically leave a buffer there. These are significantly more expensive. I can pretty much run the Growatt inverters at like $50 per panel. Like that's essentially what it cost me. In comparison, if I can't find any better deals on this Primo stuff, it's going to be a Primo price tag, and it's 4xing my cost to invert per panel. So $50 to invert a panel, right, versus $200. That is massively increasing the cost of deployment. I'm going to need many more inverters, and they're going to be much more expensive there. And so the way that the numbers shake down with the Fronius is there's 3 terminals per tracker, right? And these MPPT or the trackers, there's only 2 of them on these units. So you want to balance that up. So I'd run like 332 on the terminals, 8 panels on each side of these inverters. The VOC's easy in this equation, right? So 16, I'm within that limit, a little bit of a buffer, and these are apparently good to go beyond that if there's some super cold day or something. But man, this doesn't give me that much wattage. I'm only at 11.5. I could step down significantly. I could go down to the 12.5. I could go down to the 11.4. Really, I think the 15 is way too oversized. But here's the key takeaway. It's the amperage that has pushed me here, right? Remember that 17.6 number we talked about? All of their units are rated 18 amps, even the little guys. And what I've started to realize is that inverters are built pretty similar across the ranges. They're just limited by that max output power, right? And thus, how much they can really accept there. The amperages go up as you go along, but that's really just in line with the wattage. Bottom line is that this can accept an 18 amp input, right? And these are bifacial, so they can operate beyond 720 watts. I mean, even, right, 720 times 0.05, just a 5% bump makes this a 756 watt panel. It's not that hard to get a 5% bump on bifacial if you set it up right. We also have some Hoymiles micro-inverters. They basically come like in one unit, kind of like a 4-pack. Those are only good up to 500 watts. They actually can handle a little bit of a higher amperage. So it's the HMS 2400T here. They've got 4 16 amp inputs, right? So like the 590s fit well under that. I've also got 630 watt panels that barely fit under the 16 amps. But once again, these do not fit those 720 watt panels. And also just their rated output is just too low. And really they're gonna create a lot of clipping when I deal with the 630 watt panels there as well. So I'm gonna end up deploying more of these. I'm gonna deploy more panels because this was not properly designed. And it's very easy to just start grabbing parts over here and parts over there. You know, prices are always going up, availability, so much information. It's tough, it's frustrating, and I've got a really tight deadline. But ultimately, I don't care. It's fine. It's good enough. Worst case, I lose some efficiency and I waste a little bit of money in the equation. But I'm buying parts from China for pennies on the dollar. So I don't give a shit about these US resellers that will charge you 3 times what they paid to just order it on just a straight up one-click delivery from China. So I'm good. I'm not gonna beat myself up on that front. I got a lot of miners that I want to take care of. I want to get situated. I'm done with the electricity bills. It is absolutely crushing me, especially in this market, right? I mean, so I'm mining, like right now my node went down. Actually, the node is technically up, but Basin like doesn't restart sometimes. Piss me off. I need to go fix this miner today there as well. But the point is, right, I got like 44 miners. Some of these are running at hosting facilities, which we've talked about before. But the point is, with all of these and the electricity cost, and you say, oh, dude, you made $280 yesterday mining Bitcoin. It's crazy. I accrued more than $300 in electricity bills yesterday. I'm not winning, I'm losing. I'm just dying a little slower. And I'm normally solo mining, which you can see when my hash rate is way lower. And I haven't hit a Bitcoin block solo mining yet. So that's just straight village. Let's bring it back here on focus and round it out, right? So power the miners, end game, all that stuff. Make money with SRECs too. But ultimately, you know, as far as these inverters go, I'm gonna need to find a lot of them or something similar, because I have about 600, 720 watt panels. And if I understand this right, and that's like what the support said there, if I can only put 16 panels per unit, right? So if I've got, this is a little bit less than this, but if I can only put 16, I need 38 of these. Holy shit, that's a lot. And I'm also gonna have to reconfigure my rows, because right now our initial design had rows in 24. Well, it's gonna get a little funky with 16, 16. Really, I'm thinking I just go, 32 rows, or 16 rows. I feel like I'd rather do 32, but maybe a break in it would be better for the wind uplift. These rows generate something like 2,000 foot-pounds of like uplift. I'm not sure if that number is exactly right, but it's a lot. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm Vosk here on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. I'm chasing the dream, the solar powered one now. I hope you enjoy the content, and remember, I'm doing this on like my scale to kind of match what I've built out here the best I can. But everything can be scaled down, right? I'm talking about this and that, but at the end of the day, you could grab 40 panels, and then you could grab 2 of these Growatt inverters, assuming you size it all right, and you could throw these in your backyard, right? So as far as the racking, we're exploring Integra rack, and that can all be installed by hand tools in the dirt. So pretty cool, pretty interesting stuff. This has all never been more approachable and easier, but it's still kind of tough. So hey, I appreciate you. Here's our CSO, our Chief Solar Officer on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. Good luck. Goodbye.